So now the next step from that, so like that's been out for probably 5-6 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
And now they just came out with something new that you were losing your mind about.
And I still am. The more I use it, I am. So they've called that the program that runs all of that. They call it SuperRack.
Mm-hmm.
And SuperRack runs. That's what you would like if you had an iLive or a Digico, whatever. The SuperRack app would run, and that's what you would interface with to see your plugins, whatever.
Yep. And you've had to run that on a pretty robust computer.
Right. Well, it ran off the SoundGrid server or whatever. Right. So, yeah, which was a very robust computer.
Yeah.
Last week, Waves released a product called SuperRack Performer, and it takes all of that and it makes it run natively on your computer, like just the one computer. You no longer need two machines.
Right.
And you no longer need a $500 piece of software.
Right. Because before you could buy just like an Impact server, and then you could buy a PC, and then like those would have to work on tandem together.
Right. Yep.
Which was where a lot of that latency, quote unquote, people would say came from.
Yeah.
Because you have one thing processing it, then another thing processing it, and then another thing processing it. Yeah.
And then blah, blah, blah. Right.
Right. So now that's changed, and that's what you're saying. It's changed.
So, I mean, this is in the industry of everything, of all this kind of stuff. This isn't a new, totally revolutionary thing. There's an app called Live Professor, I believe, that a friend of the show, Duke, has been telling me about, where it allows you to just use any plugin from any manufacturer, but where...
Can you not use like outside manufacturer plugins on LV1?
No.
It has to be Waves.
Yes.
Interesting. I did not know that.
No, yeah, it's literally just within...
That kind of sucks.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Sorry,
yeah,
off
especially
topic.
especially if you're like invested somewhere else or whatever. Like I own all the Sound Toys stuff, and I would love to be able to use Sound Toys Live.
Yeah, I mean...
But...
Well, I guess, like... I'm trying to think.
What are you going to do?
Does Waves actually have, like, the SSL plugins? Are those actually made by Waves? Are those made?
Yeah, like in partnership with SSL,
Okay.
yeah. But that's weird. I think that'll come, though, because they've introduced something called SuperRack. Well, okay, SuperRack. There's SuperRack as a plugin for inside of your DAW,
Okay.
so that you could run multiple instances of a plugin on one channel, and it processes it all there in the one, so you could have just the one plugin in your channel, but then there's 6 Waves plugins in there.
Yeah.
They've now opened that up to it's an overall processing thing for your DAW.
Gotcha.
I think that'll probably come to Live, but I think that's a latency thing again of like certifying.
Yeah. So is like the big thing about this like the cost savings, or is it doing something that's
it's cost savings, because the SuperRack Performer app for my so I've got it on my MacBook. This is an M2 MacBook Air.
Hey, so is mine.
Nice. Yeah. So like
twinning.
Yeah. Yeah, we really are. I forgot we both had the midnight one until I got here and saw it on the desk. I was like, wait a minute. Anyways, shout out to Apple for finally doing color matched power cables. By
Except
the way,
for the brick.
Yeah, but I mean that's on the floor. You can't tell from on the desk.
That is true.
What was I saying? So this is on my MacBook. SuperRack Performer is $100 app.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm sorry. We were just talking about ADD. I was just like, I've thrown you off like twice. Sorry. And now a third time.
It's the charm.
It's running on your Mac.
And so the cost savings is I paid $100.
Yeah. And
I have a USB cable that runs from my MacBook to the USB card of my M32 or an X32. And this is where I think Waves went a step further than what like Live Professor is doing. One, it's kind of, I see it as like it's a very Apple approach. It's a very like OEM approach to this of like all of the plugins that they have available are as near to zero latency as possible, or they are zero latency. There are plugins that I own from Waves that do not show up in SuperRack because they are too latency heavy. So they don't even give you the option.
Okay.
Some of them they do, but it's like within.
So you run like the DAW type thing in live mode versus like studio mode?
SuperRack Performer literally only talks to, it basically shows up as a core audio device.
Oh, okay.
Like an audio interface does.
Oh, cool.
Right? So I plug in the M32 open sound SuperRack Go to
With your
setup.
Waves card.
Yeah.
Not just an M32. You have to have the Waves card.
No, the USB card.
Oh, just the USB card?
USB card. That's why this is so crazy.
Okay, now I'm with you. Now I'm understanding
Literally,
why this is even better.
literally every M32 and X32 that ships with every one of them
Ladies
ships
and
with a
gentlemen,
USB card.
This is why this is such a
This
big
is
deal.
why, yeah, sorry. I did a bad job of explaining that part.
No, you're good.
This is why it's like freak out worthy. It's $100 for the app.
Yeah.
And if you own a console with a USB connection on it, this will work.
Yeah, and I'm wondering because like the question will be like, well, why would they do that? Well, the Waves card isn't actually made by them.
No, it's made by Digico.
It's made. Well, it could It could be made by Allen and Heath,
right,
with a license, which they have to put their name on it.
Right.
Made by Behringer with
exactly,
license.
which is
so
like
they're probably only
is.
making $100, you know.
Right.
Off
it's
of
like
it
it's like a Dante
exactly
style thing.
So
right?
now they just do this. They go, we're still going to get $100 either which way.
Right.
You know, screw those other guys.
Yeah.
You know, because if you've got an Avantis, most likely you're just going to spend the money and get the Waves card anyways. You
Most
know,
likely, yeah.
or the D-Pack,
right?
You know, or whatever,
right?
So
or a Dante card, and then you can talk to anything. Which that was going to be our second topic, but I don't think we're going to have a problem with.
Yeah, I think we just let's just hold off and we'll talk Dante later.
So basically what it comes down to is you own all these Waves plugins. You connect this to your M32. There's a bunch of different ways. Waves like partnered with some church dude who's got a YouTube channel, like, and I don't think he did a great job of explaining the setup. It seems like they wanted a really fast, like, hey, just show us one way to use this kind of thing. But he showed you how to like set it up as just like 4 auxes for like a here's one for reverb, delay, blah, blah, blah. In using it, so I used it last weekend with Wayland. I used it last night at St. Cecilia for Joshua Davis and his 5-piece band. I'm going 1-to-1 per channel as an insert.
At 48K?
At 48K, before my compression and EQ on the desk. So it's literally after the preamp and the gate.
Okay.
Then
and you just do all that through the routing through the USB card, right?
Yep. And there's already a million videos on how to do all that routing.
Yeah,
so,
I mean that console's been around for 15 years now.
Yeah. So set all that up, blah blah blah. Go one to one, and then I just like, you sit there and so here's why this is next level or advanced level, or why I don't recommend this to volunteers, or really, like even something I had to learn myself was I don't know if you've been in the studio recording, or maybe you're like doing video editing or something, and you get a new piece of gear or you get a new plugin or something, and you get overwhelmed with how many choices there are for everything, right?
Never had that happen before.
No, you've never sat there and just gone through like every preset ever. Like you've never sat there and just hit the C note on a keyboard. Dun, dun.
I mean,
that sounds different.
I do that on Photoshop all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. That preset, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That happens. That's real, and that totally happened to me for like the first probably 4 or 5 months of owning the LV1 and trying to find my. So I'm not just a sound person that like knows what the book says and what a certain thing should sound like according to what a chart says or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a very musical person. I listen to a lot of music. I write music. And so that's how I mix. My mixing is musical, I think, right? And so I am trying to constantly bring that out, just like find, and I've had people say they can tell when it's me mixing at church versus somebody else because I've just got my, like, it sounds like me, right?
Totally.
So I've got my own sonic signature, I guess, right? I had to learn how to get what my signature,
ladies and gentlemen, that is the art part of mixing. Sorry.
Yeah, for real. I mean, it is.
Anyone can paint.
Exactly.
Not everything's going to turn out like Da Vinci,
or Bob Ross,
or Bob Ross.
Exactly.
Bob Ross.
My mixing is just a whole bunch of happy little accidents.
I mean, that's not false.
There's an old YouTube video somewhere, somebody asking T-Pain about how he gets his like auto-tune sound. He's like, I don't know, man. I just turn all the knobs on this thing till it sounds good.
I mean, to be honest with you,
sometimes that's literally what it is.
Isn't that what a lot? I mean, I know what this.
I don't know how I'd recreate that, but it sounds great. So we're gonna leave it. Save it as a preset.
I don't know how Pastor got sounding that good.
We're gonna put a piece of tape down with Sharpie marks on like a clock.
You remember those? You remember you walk into like these churches that have those old analog consoles, and someone's taken the metal strip and they've screwed it into the console, and you can't move the fader.
Turn the channel up farther than that.
Oh my god!
The governor.
I've never even thought about calling it that, but that's 100% what that is. Oh, I'm gonna start when I walk. Oh, you got a governor.
Oh,
nice.
the governor.
That's a nice model.
So I had to figure out what my sound was going to be with Waves plugins. I had to find it in there, and I was overwhelmed by it, and it sounded like garbage for a while. So be prepared for that too if you're going to start using these things live.
Yeah, this is where virtual sound check comes in, because then you can kind of mess with it and not have to do it on Sunday morning.
Or if you've got either virtual sound check or if you've got stems, you could you could put it all in your DAW.
Yeah,
sit there in your studio. Kind of, right? And get like a loose idea.
I mean, get a closer idea.
Get a loose idea. I ended up, as I was in the van on tour last weekend, texted a couple people that I knew used Wave stuff live already. Mm-hmm. So I was using my resources of people around me.
Like a wise
talking
person.
to all my nerdy friends and like, hey, what do you use? Like, you've got a bunch of Wave stuff. What do you use?
C6.
What's your vocal chain? Oh, yeah, everybody uses C6. F6, C6.
Yeah.
This weekend, just because I'm starting out, like I kind of know what I've got for broadcast stuff, but live, I'm kind of treating them as two totally different animals right now.
Yeah.
I'm not even considering any of my signal chains from broadcast yet. I may eventually, but I'm just kind of like starting fresh and just doing a whole new approach to this. So I went in. Most of my processing so far, I've just used the SSLG channel, the primary source expander, kind of like on everything. I've got like Smack Attack on drums, which is kind of just asked people, and then
I really wish they would let you use third party, because like there's the plugin where you can make your preamps be the Neve preamps.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, dude. Well,
so
could you imagine putting that on like everything?
That'd be amazing.
Like everything.
Yeah, it'd be
just
amazing.
Sprinkle Neve everywhere.
Yeah. They've got this new like analog like tube series of stuff called Magma. It sounds pretty great. But
I got the Neve EQ plugin from Waves, which I think is like the Metallica guy that like did that.
Oh,
it's not actually from Neve. It's like
Is that Manny Marroquin or?
Yeah, it was on sale. I got it for like $7, and I was like, sure, I'll try this. And I'm like, I like my SSL one better.
Yeah.
And it just sits there and doesn't do anything.
Right. What was I saying?
You were asking your friends about live.
Yeah,
plugins.
and that's just how I kind of went about it, because I knew I wasn't going to have a 3-hour sound check to sit there with the drummer and try different presets and blah blah blah. Right.
Yeah.
And I've also during sound check flipped through a couple presets.
Yeah.
But I like once sound check's over, man, I'm locked in.
Yeah.
Not touching anything other than like levels to stop things from peaking.
So again,
whatever. Right.
The question is, what level of expertise do they need to have for this? And I asked that specifically because, and you know this, do we have the same drummer every week?
Yeah, no.
Do we have the same keyboard player every week?
No.
Do we have the same bass player every week?
No.
Okay.
Right. It's
so
different
like
people every single week, right?
Right. So I think that's been like my biggest hesitation for people, where it's like, hey, we have the same 3 drummers. Oh, okay. Well, that's a little bit different. Same drum set for us. Like, we're setting up and tearing down. So like, there's so many variables that go into that.
Yeah.
For most churches that are like, the drum set never moves.
Yeah.
Okay. You can probably dial in some presets for drums pretty quickly, and save them all as presets for your 3 drummers. And the chances of having 3 drummers that are so drastically different from each other are probably also decently low.
Right.
But they're still there.
Yeah.
And then the real big thing would be like vocals and guitars, because those are the ones that are usually pretty drastic.
Yeah.
Because you've always got the guy that wants to sound like the 80s, and then the guy that wants to sound like Hillsong.
And then the one girl that sings like
sings like Shy Ronnie from SNL. Have you ever seen the Shy Ronnie skit?
No, I haven't.
It's Rihanna and Andy Samberg. And he's
I bet you that's hilarious.
And he's supposed to be like this like nerd, and she's like, and so like Rihanna's like singing like full force, and it's super catchy because Rihanna. And it's like, take it away, Shy Ronnie, and he's like, and she's like, hey, Shirani, you gotta speak up. And he's like, and then she like walks away for some reason. There's like 2 or 3 different skits. And then like as soon as she leaves, he's like, and then I was like, yeah. And he's like full force, like rapping. It sounds awesome because it's Andy Samberg. And then she like walks back and he's like,
That's amazing.
It's super funny. I'll send it to you.
Andy Samberg, great.
Don't watch SNL. It's bad for you.
I just watch the musical guests. I literally don't watch the.
This podcast does not sponsor SNL or condone watching it.
Well, you do you. God will sort them out. That
is what Jesus said about the wheat and the weeds.
The chaff. Yeah, you're right. It is. It's like it's an expertise level thing. It is a how comfortable are you? I feel like I would not have wanted to use this if I were still like, if I didn't know how I cut vocals every time. Like I could walk up to a soundboard without even starting sound check, and based on the room, as long as I've heard it for a second, blah blah blah, I can tell you where I'm probably going to start with cuts on vocals. I can tell you where I'm going to start with cuts on guitars. I can tell you where I'm going to start with cuts on drums.
And you know those things because your knowledge of understanding of how to mix, how your PA sounds.
Not even my PA, because I think why I started getting better, and maybe this is my advantage that not a lot of people have, and so you're going to have to work around. So you do get room deafness a little bit after a while, right?
Yep,
you could we
talked about that on our meeting the other night.
Just like a lot of people at Comic-Con need to shower more and wear deodorant, you can get room deafness, and I wanted to not laugh when I said that. Dang it.
I'll take the laugh out. I'll cut it out.
No, that's so funny. You got to work past that, right? Trust your ears. I mean, the best piece of advice I ever got was like, stop staring at the EQ and either shut your eyes or like look up at the musician that you're listening to, trying to EQ. And that was a tool unlocked for me. Like the banner went across the screen, like on Xbox, achievement unlocked, man. Like that took me to a whole new level. Now that I'm in that practice,
totally writing this down because I think this is a great like conversation piece to have. Like, what was that like achievement unlocked moment?
Yeah. Now that I am comfortable in that part of my practice as a sound guy, now that I know my way around most everything, even when I'm in different rooms, like I've learned how to quote tune a room, not with a microphone or whatever, but to just walk in, play some music I'm familiar with, listen to it. I know how this should sound.
Yep.
And then make adjustments on the board with the master EQ.
Right. When you listen to Phil Collins to the PA, you should know how it sounds.
Yeah. You should know how Turn Me On or Turn It On Again sounds. Gosh, what a good song. What key signature is that song in? Somebody email me. Turn It On Again by Genesis. What key signature is that song in? If you say 4/4, you're wrong. And if you say 6/8, you're wrong. What key signature is that song in? I listened to
Trivia question of the day.
I listen to it. My family knows it's Sunday because I get up and I listen to that song in the shower 5 times before I can do anything else on Sunday. 5 times. And then I start my day.
Yep. Grandpa used to wake up and drink 3 Budweisers and smoke 3 cigarettes before he'd go on a morning run.
Exactly. Yeah. Mine is Turn It On by Genesis.
Mine's Turn the Page by Bob Seger.
Oh. Anyways.
On a long and lonesome highway.
Right. Waves has essentially what, in my experience in using it for 1, 2, 3 shows now, has, because I know what I'm listening for, I know what I want. I was able to fly through some presets.
Okay.
Look at some things on those presets, make adjustments, just like I would be on the desk, except for I was sitting here on my MacBook and doing it with a mouse and keyboard, which is a little tedious.
But most people won't have to do that because it's going to be kind of already preset once they get it
like presets, and then it's that's my thing because it was a different venue each night. I'm on tour, blah blah blah. When you have a room that's your room and you're there every week, and that like your desk is always there, and you virtual sound check, and you can sit there and work on it. I would already be way farther down the road on this than I am right now because I'm just kind of living on presets and somebody else's work.
Totally.
But that's kind of what's great about it, is because I already know what I'm listening for. The amount of work I didn't have to do last weekend on tour to fight these rooms and like figure out this old like DV series L Acoustics PA being driven by a Crown amplifiers, not even the LA amps, just like
not even like the lab groupings that they used to be
no
Ugh.
Crown.
Ugh. Gross.
Yeah, like trying to get around all the work that I didn't have to do because of those plugins and because I knew how to apply them. Really, because I'd spent the time working up to it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you couldn't just go buy all this stuff and go jump in and do it, but you're probably going to sound like garbage for a while.
Yeah.
I think I got such good results out of it this weekend because I'd done work and, I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
I knew kind of where to start.
Yeah.
And it's been going all right. My biggest complaint is that you can't, like the window is scaled to whatever size they scaled it, and that's it. And you can't make the plugin.
It's not adaptive.
Can't make the plugin any bigger. So I'm sitting there like, what is that knob? Like, I felt 80 years old. Like literally, like in my computer, just like, what does that say? Like, so
holding the magnifying glass up.
Yeah, and I'm trying to mix, right? So I'm standing, I'm down here, like, what? So bad.
Yeah, so it's not adaptive.
Waves. I want to see stuff bigger.
My guess is that they were like, let's get it working, functioning, and then they're like, well, we need
But
to make it adaptive.
Is that it's the interface that's been running, like even the LV1, that's not adaptive either. Whatever that size is, that's what I've got.
Weird.
And I think I'm at a benefit there because it's a bigger display.
Turn the camera again.
And it's right there as opposed to, so like,
Waves.
hey, Waves.
Hey, Waves.
I'm going to write you an email when we're done here.
We're coming to you again. Make your software adaptive, please.
I love it. I love it so much, but like, fix it.
Pretty please.